The snow fell in soft, steady drifts, blanketing the ancient forest in a stillness so deep it felt sacred. Tall pines stood like silent sentinels, their branches heavy with white, creaking only faintly as the wind whispered through. Deep within this frozen world, a small boy trudged clumsily through the knee-high snow, his boots soaked, his breath puffing clouds into the cold air. His cheeks were red with the bite of winter, but his eyes were set, determined, focused, not on himself, but on the great dog beside him. Cody. The German shepherd was large, with a coat that once shimmered like golden embers under the sun, now dulled and frosted with snow. His powerful legs faltered with each step. His breast labored. He stumbled and collapsed into the snow, letting out a soft whimper as his body surrendered to the cold. Elias, no older than 5, gasped and dropped to his knees beside him. "No, Cody, no," he murmured, crawling through the snow to his best friend's side. He was too young to understand frostbite or hypothermia, but he knew enough about pain, about loss, to feel that something was very wrong. Cody had never let him down, not once. He had carried him on his back when Elias's legs were too tired. He had chased away wolves in the night and curled around him like a living furnace to keep him warm. But now Cody was slipping into something deeper than sleep, something final. Elias pressed his face into Cody's fur. "Wake up," he whispered. "You said you'd always protect me." It had only been a few months since they had met, but for Elias, it felt like Cody had always been there. After the fire that took everything, his home, his parents, his warm bed, even his favorite stuffed rabbit, Elias was taken to a remote mountain shelter. He remembered very little from the fire, only the orange light and the loud screams that were suddenly replaced by silence. The people at the shelter were kind but distant. No one really knew what to do with a grieving, quiet little boy who rarely spoke, whose eyes held too much sorrow for someone so small. That's when Cody arrived. Cody was a war dog. His handler had fallen in combat, and without a place in active service, he was sent to the same shelter for rehabilitation. But Cody didn't need therapy. He needed purpose. He needed someone to love. And the moment he saw Elias sitting alone by the window, clutching his knees in silence, something stirred in him. Something deep and old. Something like recognition. Elias didn't flinch when the dog approached him. He didn't smile either. He simply reached out his hand, and Cody lowered his great head into the boy's lap. From that day on, they were inseparable. The snowstorm came quickly, one of those fierce mountain tempests that roll in from nowhere and bury everything. The shelter had gone quiet, the power flickering in and out. In the confusion, Elias had wandered outside. He wasn't trying to run away. He just needed to breathe, to be in the open air, to stop feeling trapped. Cody followed him naturally. He always did. But they wandered too far. The wind picked up. Snow swallowed the trails. And before long, Elias realized they were lost. Hours passed, then more. Their footprints vanished behind them, and the world became a blur of white. Now, with Cody's body half buried in snow and Elias shaking with cold, the world felt unbearably quiet. The boy lay down beside his friend, pushing snow from his muzzle, whispering words he didn't know he knew. Words of comfort, of pleading, of love. "I won't leave you," he said, teeth chattering. "You didn't leave me, so I won't leave you." The forest around them seemed to hold its breath. Even the falling snow slowed, as if time itself was pausing to witness this small act of devotion. Elias wrapped his arms around Cody's thick neck and buried his face in the fur. He didn't know if he was crying. His face was too numb, but his heart was aching with a fear deeper than any he'd felt before. He started humming a lullaby, one his mother used to sing when the world was still right. Sleep now, my darling child. The moon will keep you warm and mild." He didn't remember all the words, but Cody stirred, just barely. Back at the shelter, panic had spread when they discovered Elias missing. A search team was quickly assembled. Volunteers, rangers, anyone with a sense of direction and a snow jacket. They called his name over and over, voices echoing into the woods. But the storm made everything distant. It was the smallest sound that saved them. A faint bark, weak, hoarse, barely audible. One of the rangers heard it, paused, then shouted to the others. They pushed through the snow, weaving between the trees until they found the boy, huddled around the massive dog, both half covered in snow. "Over here!" the ranger cried. They rushed forward. Elias didn't react at first. He was semi-conscious, murmuring softly to Cody. It took warmth and blankets and fast thinking to get them both on two. The sleds and back to the shelter. Elias wouldn't let go of Cody's paw the entire ride. Cody pulled through. Barely. So did Elias. They recovered together side by side in the warmth of the shelter's infirmary. The bond between them had deepened into something unshakable. The shelter quickly realized they couldn't be separated. And when a kind couple, former veterans themselves, offered to adopt both of them, no one questioned it. Years passed. Elias grew taller, stronger. He would go on to train as a rescuer himself, search and rescue just like Cody. He spent his life helping others, especially lost children. And always Cody was there. Grayer, slower, but still devoted, still watching. The day Cody passed, Elias was by his side, just like that night in the snow. He sang the same lullaby, only this time he knew all the words. Cody went peacefully with a soft sigh and his head in Elias's lap. They buried him in the same forest, under a pine tree, where snow fell softly year-round. A small wooden sign read, "Cody, the dog who never left." People in the nearby village still talk about Elias and Cody, the unbreakable bond between a boy and his dog. They say love like that doesn't need words, that it's deeper than language, more powerful than fear, that when the world is cold and dark, sometimes all you need is a paw to hold and a heart to trust. And in the quiet woods on still winter nights, some say you can still hear a boy's soft lullaby floating through the trees and the gentle thump of a wagging tail in the snow. Though Cody was gone, his spirit never left Elias. On every mission, through every rescue in blizzards or beneath broken skies, Elias could feel him, guiding his steps, echoing in the rustle of pine needles and the soft crunch of snow. He began carrying a small patch of Cody's old collar on every assignment, stitched into the inside of his jacket, close to his heart. It reminded him of their vow made long ago in the frozen forest. "I won't leave you." And he never did. Not in memory, not in legacy. Years later, Elias wrote a book titled The Silent Bond, a tribute to Cody and the love that saved them both. It became a story passed down to children, shared beside fireplaces and read in shelters across the country. Because in a world that often forgets the quiet heroes, Elias made sure everyone would remember the dog who stayed, the boy who believed, and the winter night that proved love is stronger than the cold. As Elias grew older, his hair turning the same silver as the frost he once braved, he often visited Cody's resting place beneath the tall pine tree. Every year on the anniversary of their rescue, he would bring a lantern, light it beneath the branches, and sit in silence, sometimes speaking aloud, sometimes not. The forest always welcomed him, as if it too remembered the boy and his guardian. Snow would fall gently, not as a burden, but like a memory returning home. One winter, a small group of children from the village followed him, curious about the old man with kind eyes who always walked into the woods alone. Elias smiled and invited them to sit. As the wind carried soft flakes around them, he told them the story, not of heroes and battles, but of a boy who was lost and a dog who never gave up. And in the hush that followed, the children understood. Some friendships are forged not in words, but in the quiet moments between heartbeats. And those friendships never fade.